The narcissist doesn't love himself. He needs to be loved. He needs to be seen, applauded. He walks into a room and immediately begins calculating, not power, not opportunity, but attention. Who's looking? Who's not? Who praised him? Who ignored him? And in this desperate theater of validation, he becomes a slave to perception. But he doesn't see it that way. He thinks he's just confident, charismatic, destined for something great. He'll even convince you he's self-assured. But in reality, he's terrified of one thing: being unseen. The narcissist builds his whole life around admiration, and yet he never feels admired enough. Because beneath all the performance is something rotting, fragile pride. One insult, and he spirals. One rejection, and he plots revenge. The narcissist is not strong, he is starving, and the more he feeds on praise, the more he needs it to survive. You'll see him in every room, loud, curated, slightly too polished. He smiles wide, but scans constantly for signs of disrespect. If you praise him, he shines. If you ignore him, he withers. But if you challenge him, he breaks. You've just witnessed the mask slip. The narcissist doesn't have defenses, he has illusions. And when those illusions crack, he collapses into one of two extremes: rage or despair. Neither are controlled, neither are rational. He is an empire built on mirrors. And once the reflection no longer flatters him, he burns the whole room down, trying to get it back. This is why many men fail in silence, not because they lacked skill, but because their egos were too fragile to withstand reality. One loss and they disappear. One bruise and they retreat into fantasy. Because they were never warriors, they were children trapped in adult bodies, craving applause instead of conquest. But make no mistake, the narcissist can still rise, and often he does. Because he knows how to wear the perfect face. He adapts to what you admire. He becomes what you want to praise. In politics, in entertainment, in leadership, narcissists often rise faster than everyone else. Why? Because they need to. While others debate, the narcissist seduces. While others hesitate, he poses. He becomes a mirror of the public desire, and the crowd, hungry to worship, gives him the crown. But this is the cruel paradox. What lifts him is also what dooms him. Because the moment the admiration fades, he self-destructs. Think of the icons who fell apart once the spotlight dimmed, the leaders who couldn't handle criticism, the creators who vanished once they were no longer praised. It wasn't failure that broke them, it was their addiction to being seen as perfect. This is where it becomes dangerous, not just for them, but for everyone around them. Because when the narcissist starts to lose admiration, he doesn't go quietly. He manipulates, guilt trips, and lies. He rewrites history. He demonizes those who stop feeding him praise. In relationships, he becomes controlling. In business, vindictive. He cannot let you move on, because your attention is his oxygen. So he will shame you, charm you, or destroy you, anything to remain center stage. And if he can't be worshipped as the hero, he'll play the victim. Or worse, the villain. Not out of strategy, but out of desperation. This is not power. This is dependency disguised as dominance. And once you see it, you'll notice it everywhere. The loudest in the room, the most polished. The ones who always need to be special. They're not free. They're dying for applause. And here's the final cruelty. Most men who are ruled by this type never realize it until it's too late. They think they're chasing greatness, when really they're just chasing compliments. They think they're leaders, when really they're addicts for praise. And while they're building a false self for the world to admire, their real self is decaying, unnoticed, unloved, and eventually forgotten, because they spent their entire life trying to be someone else's ideal. Not once did they stop and ask, "Who am I?" when no one's watching. This question haunts them. And if they ever slow down long enough to face it, it breaks them. Because the truth is, the narcissist doesn't want power. He wants to look powerful. And in the end, that illusion becomes his cage. But here's where it gets dangerous. Some narcissists learn to weaponize their charm. They evolve. They study attention like war. They seduce not just to be loved, but to control. And when that shift happens, the narcissist is no longer just fragile. He becomes calculated, strategic, a charming manipulator who wears vulnerability like armor. And this is how he begins to transform into something darker. He's evolved past the clumsy hunger for praise. Now, the narcissist has learned to control it. No longer a child begging for attention. He's a performer who who understands the audience better than they understand themselves. He's refined, selective, weaponized, but make no mistake, the wound is still there. He doesn't seduce because he wants to connect. He seduces because it gives him leverage. Compliments are no longer food, they're currency. He trades them for loyalty, obedience, worship. And in this new form, the narcissist becomes dangerous not just to himself, but to everyone who mistakes his mask for depth. Because once you believe in his illusion, he owns you, and when he owns you, he feeds. Not always publicly, not always obviously, but behind every soft smile and gentle voice, he's extracting something from you: admiration, sympathy, envy, submission, all without lifting a single weapon, because his real weapon is you. He plays the victim masterfully. He'll confess his flaws, but only the ones that make him seem brave. He'll share his pain, but only in ways that center him as the tragic hero. He will admit failure, but only the kind that makes him appear strong for surviving it. This is how the evolved narcissist traps you, by giving you just enough truth to seem authentic, just enough vulnerability to seem safe, and just enough charisma to seem magnetic. You lower your guard, you trust, you admire, and then slowly, your sense of reality begins to shift. You feel inferior around him, but you can't explain why. You start questioning yourself more. You become addicted to his approval and terrified of his silence. And that's exactly where he wants you: uncertain, impressed, submissive. Because if you ever wake up to what he really is, the spell breaks. But most never do. They stay locked in the orbit of his ego, spinning endlessly around a sun that only shines for itself. They confuse confidence with superiority. They confuse storytelling with honesty. They confuse emotional expression with emotional depth. And they pay the price in silence, wondering why they always feel unseen, unheard, unworthy next to someone who claims to love them. Because the narcissist doesn't build connections, he builds mirrors. And you are only valuable to him when you reflect something he wants to see. The moment you show him a reflection he doesn't like, your independence, your anger, your strength, he punishes you. Sometimes with distance, sometimes with cruelty, sometimes with sudden, unexplained withdrawal. And each time, he frames it as your fault. Because the evolved narcissist is a master of blame. This is what makes him so difficult to confront. You can't argue with him. He's rehearsed every response. You can't accuse him. He'll turn it around on you. You can't shame him, because he'll use your accusation as proof that you're the problem. And if you try to leave, he'll become everything you once loved again, just long enough to pull you back. He doesn't want you, he wants your admiration. He doesn't love you. He loves how you made him feel about himself. And when he no longer needs you, he will discard you, gently, poetically, sometimes even with tears, but discard you all the same, because the narcissist is not here to build with you. He is here to build himself, and you are just another brick in his image. And yet, you'll still miss him. That's the real cruelty. Even when you see him clearly, even when you understand the manipulation, even when you finally walk away, something in you will ache. Because the narcissist is an expert in imprinting himself onto your psyche. He'll be the first to say something no one else ever dared to say. He'll be the only one who noticed that one detail you always hid. He'll remember things no one else remembers. And he'll give you a taste of being completely seen before snatching it away. That is the drug. And once you've tasted it, everyone else feels dull. That's what he counts on. Because even if you hate him, if you remember him, he still wins. But the greatest tragedy, the narcissist doesn't even know who he is. For all the masks he wears, for all the identities he crafts, for all the people he mirrors, the core is hollow. There is no stable self, just shifting images, trying to catch a glimpse of something real. He is both master and prisoner of the performance. And eventually, when the crowd is gone, the applause fades, and no one is watching, he's left with silence, and it terrifies him. Because in that silence there is no reflection, just the haunting question, who am I, if no one's looking? And he has no answer, so he starts performing again. Another audience, another stage, another mirror, always running from the stillness that would force him to see the truth. And now, you must ask yourself, does this type live in you? Are your goals truly your own, or are they just bait for applause? Do you act for yourself, or for the version of yourself you hope others admire? Do you crave growth, or the appearance of growth? Because if you lie to yourself here, You'll never escape the narcissist's cage. You'll spend your life performing, pleasing, posing, and dying inside. But if you answer honestly, something rare happens. You stop acting, and you start becoming. But the path to that clarity is brutal, because once you destroy the illusion, another darker one waits underneath it. Most people never make it past the narcissist phase. Their entire lives are lost in the performance, addicted to admiration, enslaved by their own image. But a rare few evolve.